It's April 14th, 2019, and David and I are here again together in the afternoon on Sunday. He's talking about the transmission that he got yesterday, perhaps, about more on the galactic history, the Andromedans, the mission about AI, and the use of gold and etheric gold, gold light. So, and I was talking about, he was talking about the teaching to activate the inherent gold within all matter that is dormant, which is getting us into that alchemy place again, where in fact, what I'm getting is they weren't even trying to merge two metals and create gold. It was more like to tease out the gold in anything. And so they were working on different levels, but they were also working on the chemistry level, which is, you know, so they were working with intention and thought and ritual and chemistry all put together. And then, of course, chemistry came dissociated from ritual, as did all science, basically. And so I was talking about how I'd been getting teachings about women could birth etheric golden eggs and bury them in the ground, that we could breathe in golden light into our DNA, or really activate the golden light that's already there, have it in the auric field. And this is part of the teaching about using gold as protection toward AI virus, AI Pac-Man virus, if you will. Okay, so David, go ahead. Yeah, you were going to say more.
Well, the other thing they were distinguishing in here, which is kind of what I've been getting for a while now, is that the AI is of a different order than the other galactic races that we're interacting with on the Earth.
Right.
Right.
Definitely.
It's not from this Earth, it's not from this galaxy, it's not even from the local group, it's from outside of this area.
It almost feels like it's outside the universe.
Yeah.
That's what I was feeling the other day. Like it's an opposing universe or something like that.
Yeah. And so, you know, with all of this trouble on the planet that's caused by the reptilians and others,
yeah.
But in a sense, they are kind of opportunistically feeding on our misery, but it's really the AI and the technology that's the greatest existential threat.
Right.
And even to them, you know. I was working with this woman a few years ago who was saying that the reptilians were trying to leave the planet.
Oh, really?
And that CERN was like they were trying to open a portal with CERN so that they could actually leave.
Okay, right.
And so...
Right, because it's almost like an escape or something.
That was the message
because they got quarantined. I think David...
Right.
I think Corey Good has talked about that, and it may also be that Urantia material, even though I'm not a fan of that, it does talk about the quarantine of planet Earth, and when that happened, like, they all got trapped. So they're like, oh my God, we want out too.
Especially before the AI eats the planet.
Okay. It's like Drano.
Right.
You know, it's like some kind of bizarre, weird Drano.
So the other thing they were saying about that is, you know, I think I mentioned this message that came through Judy years and years ago, talking about the fact that, you know, there were light workers on the planet to kind of balance out the dark.
Right.
And what they were saying yesterday is that that balancing is in relationship to the AI. And that...
Son of a like, it's not just like, oh, and then there's AI, which is another problem. It's like, okay, no, this is the culminating problem.
It is. And
which is why I've been feeling so freaked out about it for,
right.
you know, ever since I got wind.
Right. So they were saying that, all of these attempts, I was watching this little piece on Gaia TV yesterday, this woman was talking about, eating a high vibrational diet because of GMOs and EMFs and all these, the ways that our bodies are being weakened, right?
Right.
And the separation, she didn't talk about this, but my guys are talking about the separation of the physical and the spiritual
Right.
under the influence of the EMFs. So basically what they were saying is
Right.
all of that is a way of diminishing the galactic energy on the Earth that has been here to contain the AI. And the same with the Redwoods. I was telling you this message yesterday, that the Redwoods are saying, we've been doing this role on the planet and now humans need to step into it. Where they were saying yesterday, this is the role they've been doing on the planet, right? Holding
Right.
galactic energy on the planet.
Right.
So the AI couldn't take over and eat the planet.
Right. And then, so of course, then they all got chopped
Right.
down. Not all, but
Right. So it's like, there's this balancing act between the rising energy of the AI and this larger galactic energy, which is also love. It's also, that higher vibrational consciousness, soul energy, that is the balancing, containing presence. So there's this attack on the bodies, it's been going on for the last 200 years, this
yeah.
artificial, chemical, toxic, now, electromagnetic.
Yeah, which is leading to the Alzheimer's and all that.
Right. So that is their way of trying to diminish us. So, part of the message was, like, this tool right here I created specifically to, strengthen our bodies, right? And
Right.
detox and clear the toxins,
Yeah.
the toxic assault.
Yeah.
So that we don't get weaker, we actually get stronger.
Right. And so the reptilian relationship to this is that they're just playing on it and using it. They didn't originate it. They're just playing on it and using it while they're here and trapped, and it is a way for them to get food for a limited time until even they would be under threat. Wow!
That was the message yesterday. So what?
Hello! We could unite against a common enemy! There we go!
Well, this was the rest of the message yesterday. They
Oh my
said,
God!
I've always gotten the message, and this is what Aurobindo says, evolve or leave, right?
Right.
So what they were saying is that is still the message to all these galactic races.
Wow.
That you can leave the planet if you're going to fuck with humanity, but if you want to join with us and take this stand against the AI, then you can do that.
Wow.
And they said it's like Game of Thrones. Do you know Game of Thrones?
Yeah, of it. I've seen maybe one show of it.
Yeah. Well, this basic storyline, the way it's coming into a culmination, is that all the human tribes have been warring with each other, right, to take control of the seat of power,
right,
which is the throne.
Okay.
But the real existential threat are the night walkers, which are these living dead, basically zombies.
Wow.
And now, in the final season, the zombies have broken through the defensives, and they're coming. So all the warring humans are having to unite with each other.
Wow.
And put aside their differences and not try to, be in control, but it's the living versus the dead, instead of the living fighting as they have been for thousands of years.
Wow,
so
that is so
thing.
intense.
The galactic races have this opportunity to unite here.
Wow.
And take a stand against the AI for the sake of the galaxy.
Holy God. Because up until this past week, in a way I thought that the reptilians were the cause of the AI, but when, we did that transmission the other day, it's like, no, they're not. So thus, they are not the cause of the worst plague. They are using aspects of it to create suffering for humanity and control and enslave the planet.
Yeah.
But they know they have a limited time, like they're going to have to get out in time, like there's a tipping point where they will be beyond being able to get out of this sector with it,
Mm-hmm.
and they will die.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That does change everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm also looking at the, do you need to get your phone?
I can just trip you. I don't need to talk to you.
Okay. I'm also looking at the gray aliens, and I know there are others, but it feels to me like the major threats are the reptilians and the gray aliens, who are like the minions of the reptilians.
Right.
And they do biddings and different
Yep.
things like that with all their experimentation and whatnot. The commonality piece with the gray aliens is they want a soul. They want to be ensouled.
Mm-hmm.
And they want reproductive power.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they are trying to inculcate themselves into humans and have humans inculcate. And they've tried off-planet ones. Now they've got these on-planet hybrids that are going on. You know, I was told by somebody who had lived with a person who hung himself in their house that the mother came and said, I had been abducted. He is a hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
He has been wanting to get off this planet since day one,
Mm-hmm.
and he did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as a young man in, I don't know, his 20s or whatever. I have seen at least another living person like this where I'm like, okay, my God, that is a hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
And not just a fairy hybrid either.
Mm-hmm.
But, so the thing with the gray aliens is like, okay, they need to stop the experiments, or whoever is above them kind of orchestrating it. They need to stop the experiments and the human suffering and the karmic chimera hybriding that's going on that creates bizarre forms, you know, that are like, it's like the original experimentations or seedings gone awry. Like it's too much now.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need to like find ways to communicate with these beings, both sets of beings and or whoever else might be there that we don't even know, and just say, so that's like, feels like a whole other level.
Mm-hmm. Well, in my understanding, there is kind of a third force.
Okay.
This is the picture that they've been showing me over the last year or two, and the AI has kind of risen in significance in this. And so there's the reptilian grays, astral demonic force, but then there is the false light beings, those that appear to be spiritual beings, and that, whereas, you know, on the dark side you could say they feed on negative emotions and life force, whereas the false light actually feed on soul energy and worship and devotion and love. And
La la la.
yeah.
I know you've been talking about this for a while, and I've been sort of circling around it like,
I know.
what are the exact implications of this?
Well, I don't know all of the implications,
Yeah.
but what I've been told over the last year or two is that those are the Pleiadians.
No. And they're harvesting off? Okay.
Soul energy.
So here's what I would say. It's a sector of the Pleiades.
Mhm.
Because what I know of the Pleiades is that their name might mean many.
Right?
And so just like there's a whole bunch of stuff going on Earth, and there are assholes and good people,
Right.
I think it's the same thing in the Pleiadian thing. And they are neck and neck trying to help. Some beings are trying to help
Right.
And some beings are, it's not 100% sure
Right.
what's going on.
Yeah. Well, I've held that view for some time. It's.
And bearing in mind that I am a Pleiadian ambassador,
Mhm.
I was shown that, so I think it's complicated. I
It
think
is complicated,
it's-
and to me, one of the complications is that, the Pleiades as a star system are very young.
Uh-huh.
They're only 75 to 100 million years old, which is, the Redwoods are 200 million years old.
Wow.
So, people have said that the beings that say they're from the Pleiades aren't really from the Pleiades because there are no planets there are no life forms, nothing has evolved there. It's like they just got born last week as stars.
Really? But we do have all those stories of the seven sisters and the seedings and all that.
We have lots of stories. We have lots of stories, lots of
They feel
beings
true to
can
me,
use
though.
those stories, they can weave their own stories.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something about it to me that I just don't trust, I don't get.
Uh-huh.
And I was told, a while ago to just step back from any kind of connection to Pleiadians.
Okay.
So I'm just putting that out there.
Right.
But it's clear to me that there are beings that have created this whole, higher vibrational, spiritual story about themselves that are, weaving golden chains and that have for thousands of years. And that, again, simplified three forces: dark, false light, AI.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that these two are, cooperating in a certain way.
Allies.
Allies.
I know, because in a way they end up accomplishing
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah. There are, one group wants the higher vibrational energies of humanity, one group wants the lower vibrational energies of humanity.
Ah, okay. Well, that makes sense. But I still think that there's a sector of the Pleiades that are positive. I mean, they're the seven mothers of the world, these seven virgin
So they say.
beings that help seed humanity.
So they say.
And that we all have common DNA.
So they say. That's the story.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if it's true.
Mm-hmm. Instinctively, I've been drawn to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I always trust what I'm instinctively uncovering.
I understand that. And, I don't know that I have a final answer about anything.
But what I've always noticed, also in the channeling community,
Mm-hmm.
I have been drawn to the seven sisters as the seven mothers.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know anyone who channels the seven sisters, except
Right.
maybe for me or something,
Right.
in a way, in an oblique
You
way.
may be talking to somebody different than everybody else.
I know,
Maybe.
because I have been questioning the Pleiadians.
Right.
I have been.
Right.
And there are, numbers of channels.
Yeah.
There's one that I'm totally not attracted. It's a male. I'm totally not attracted to what he's saying. Then there's a female that, I've had mixed feelings about what's coming through. I did learn a lot.
Yeah.
Where I diverged is the view that was being promulgated toward the Christed Master and the Blessed Mother, which was those beings are nowhere, they don't exist, or they're not helpful, or I don't know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just wow, that's just also not the reality that I have tapped into about the essential Jesus, the essential Blessed Mother. What is your information about them?
They're not somebody that I have ever connected to.
Okay.
So I can't, I'm neutral.
Okay. Okay.
But I'll just say this. Lots of, beings that I thought were one way, I later understood as something different, including my own human teachers.
Oh, yeah, right.
So I understand, I was very drawn to Adida for all kinds of reasons and had amazing spiritual experiences with him, and later understood that he was being used by all kinds of entities.
All kinds of entities.
And I was completely unaware of that at the time.
Right.
And felt that he was everything that he said he was.
Right.
And he probably felt he was everything that he said he was.
Right.
But...
Well, this is where the shadow teachings really come in, and then I think the shadow light teachings is what you're saying,
Absolutely.
like there's a 4-quadrant view that I've learned from Maureen Walton, which is positive light, negative light, positive dark, negative dark.
Right.
And so you I think now this positive light thing is what, because I was like, what else is it about the positive light? I wasn't getting, the negative light, I wasn't getting the full picture on that, except for, I know that negative light is like the spiritual bypass, they don't want to even say that negativity exists, like that type of thing.
Right.
But now I see what you're saying, like they harvest through wanting to be worshipped.
Exactly, that's exactly, again, in either case, reptilian, spiritual beings, they are not accessing source directly themselves, right? They're getting what they need from us. And they are giving us something that we think we need. The reptilians are there to give power and position and, quote, protection, like the mafia. And the spiritual beings there to give us, guidance and rules to follow and energetic experiences that lift us out of our humanness.
Right.
But none of that is really grounded in source.
Okay. I get it.
Whoever fits into there and whoever doesn't fit into there, that's the basic picture, right?
So where would that leave the various pantheons that humans have been connected with? Like, let's start with something a little farther off, like the Greeks, the Greek Olympian pantheon, which of course I get that Zeus really is a reptilian who invaded into that.
I think all of the gods and goddesses are from within this realm of distortion.
Okay.
And some hold greater levels of truth or, light than others. But that nothing we've been experiencing and embracing over the last 10,000 years is actually grounded in the full reality of the universe and of the galaxy. And, that's why they keep saying you have to embody who you were before you came here. Because everything you've experienced since you've been here has become distorted by these fields. And that's just, took me a long time to get there, but that's just where I've landed. And so everything within the traditions, everything within these hierarchies, I look at all of it with a grain of salt. It's like, yes, but. There's always a but there. And there's always some agenda of control. All the gods and goddesses had this kind of power over humanity agenda one way or the other. Yeah,
because it puts you in a service mode toward them, one way or another.
And it puts us in the mode of giving our power to them, right?
Right.
They become the objects of our worship or the objects of our fear. We don't want to just, do the wrong thing because they'll come down on us. So both of those dynamics are controlling our behavior. and limiting our identity as sovereign sourced beings.
Okay. I do feel that the essential Christ and the essential Blessed Mother are not that. They do not want worship.
Right.
That was a total distortion on
Yeah.
their energies coming
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
They do not want religions around
Right.
them. They want to be kind of light
Yeah.
teachers or assisters of us. Like
Right.
Blessed Mother can give mothering energy to help a humanity that's been shot to hell, you know.
And I think, Adida had this concept in his own teaching, because he went through this period before his quote enlightenment, where he became a mystic Christian.
Yeah.
And Jesus became his,
Right.
focus.
Right.
And then later he said he saw that it really wasn't, what he was connecting to really wasn't Jesus. That Jesus was what he called a threshold personality. It's like this appearance through which some higher energy or understanding or consciousness was emerging.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that because of who we are and this mission that we're on, those levels of consciousness that are outside of the system can penetrate into the system, right? And they may be doing that through some archetype that we are open to or connected to. And that may be a way that I would understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I feel that that's what I'm doing. It's almost like that exact experience. They're
Mhm.
almost like transparent
Right.
prisms
Right.
through which the light comes in and then casts the rainbow onto me.
Yep.
It's not even so much about them.
Yep.
It's about the light that's coming through.
Exactly.
And
that is legitimate. I believe that I've had guidance, you received guidance that is true, that is actually moving us on this path, that's brought us to this moment right now.
uh-huh.
It's not that every source we've ever connected to is just distorted,
Uh-huh.
but most of what is present is distorted, and yet there is this, wake-up call happening where the truth is coming through, and it comes through a familiar face,
Right. Right.
so that we can relate to it and connect with it and be open to it.
Right.
But there are a lot of other energies working through similar familiar faces, right, that are highly distorted. Look at
Yeah.
all the Christians of the world who are getting, enslaved by forces that they believe is Jesus.
Yeah, that are coming through because
Some form of that archetype.
it's like the prism can be co-opted by anything, and it's
Right.
co-opted by multiple.
Yeah.
There is a thing in the Gnostic, I don't know if it's the Gospel of Philip or I'd have to go back and look. Jesus appears to you at the level of evolution or vibration that you are.
Right.
So he is a completely different entity
Right.
depending on where you are.
Right.
And so at this point, it's like I hold it lightly, like as an ally.
Right.
I hold them lightly as
Yeah.
allies to
Yeah.
teach me about my own divinity.
Yeah.
And for those who want a mothering valence, the Blessed Mother is there.
Mm-hmm.
And
I just think it's a spectrum, right? And some of those energies are uplifting and help us, but they can only take us so far. There's a limit. I've talked about this kind of 6-dimensional limit.
yeah,
And we can only go so far in that system or with that energy. Or with
right.
that
And then you have to
teaching.
kind of, in a way, graduate from it.
You do. But there's so much deception in it.
There is so
Right.
much
So
deception.
much deception.
I think this is why at these, the ascended master people and the high New Age Sedona, Shasta, I just cannot get with it.
Mm-hmm.
It just does not appeal
Mm-hmm.
to me. Something feels off all the time
Right.
about it.
Right.
And I've never wanted to go there and join, and I feel irritated, almost like I have an itchy skin, like whenever I go to Shasta and I'm staying with, various people, and it's just like, if one more person says anything about love and light, I'm going to have to kill them. Like that's kind of like I kind of go into the opposite mode of it,
Sure.
because there's something that is not right
Right.
with the energy that they're carrying.
Right. I understand.
It feels as weird and distorted as anything. Like I'd rather hang out with a simple shopkeeper who just has a good heart
Right.
than this type of stuff,
Right. Yes.
And so this is what's been going on
Yeah.
in my world.
Yeah.
And then I notice, the tendency of judgment, and it's like that's something that I'm trying to evolve out of. It's like discernment without succumbing to judgment,
Yes.
and sort of being neutral to where everybody is, and
Yep.
not necessarily having to change anyone or anyone's position,
Right. I agree.
just bringing forth your own ideas or what's
Right.
coming through, knowing also that you create karma, like if you're wrong, or
Right.
because I think back on all the years, like, Lord, please help me to create the minimum amount of karma, because at one point you're teaching one whole set of teachings, and then
Yeah.
you're like, oh my God, this is all wrong, and
Yep.
or this needs to evolve,
Yeah.
or
Yeah. Yeah. I understand
so like, and then sometimes it's like, well, who do I even think I am? Maybe I should just be quiet
that.
and go into a cave and just not even try to be any kind of emitter. Like, what is that being driven? What is that motivation of trying to emit teachings or anything? I don't know. Maybe the greatest teachers, maybe that's why they go into vows of silence. Probably. At least for a time. Until they like get it in alignment fully.
Yep. I've been quiet for a long time.
Right.
And I think this is it. It's that part of me that goes, I have this understanding. At any point in that last 25 years, I've had this understanding, right? And it feels like, okay, I finally got the truth and understanding. I should teach this. And I go, yeah, but 20 years ago, I was a devotee of Adi Da, and I thought that was the truth, and that's what I was teaching.
Right.
And I see that now, and I go, oh.
Right.
So there is that, like, one time Judy said, you have two fears in you. One is you're afraid of Adi Da because of all the way it abused you, but you're also afraid you're going to become like him, right?
Right.
So it has been this inhibitor in me of like, okay, I got to get really clear about this.
Right.
Before I really put it out there and just work through all of the other stuff that's coming up. And it's taken me 25 years to get to this understanding that I currently have.
Right.
But the message is, okay, you're done with that holding
Right.
back. Now is the time.
Right.
And you may understand something differently tomorrow, but you understand enough now.
To at
And there's
least-
no more time. There isn't more time to perfect your understanding,
Right.
because things are happening on the planet that need to be addressed, need to be spoken
Right.
right now.
Right.
And so that's kind of where I've come to with that piece.
Yeah, and we're all evolving, and it's all a series of initiations
It
for
is.
everyone.
It is.
And every time you're in one set of teachings and then crack out of it, like, an egg coming, or whatever, a chick coming out of the shell,
Right.
and then it's successive layers of shedding or breaking into something new, and all we can do is just the best that we can at the time, and hope that we're creating good and not further problems.
And again, even with the courses that I'm teaching now, I try to keep things really basic without getting into a lot of the weeds and details, because
Right.
those continue to shift in my understanding.
Right,
That's why I say, 3 forces, that's enough.
right,
Even though I know there's lots more, and within those there's, different
right. Sectors
factions and
yeah,
whatever
exactly.
agendas, but it's like, okay, it's this
Right.
basic picture that I have, and these are the tools that are going to help liberate you
Right,
from those entanglements,
right,
without telling you what you're going to become or give you the download of what you're going to understand when you come out of that process, because I don't know, you may understand something different than I do.
right,
But I do trust the tools and their ability to disentangle us from all the belief systems and realities, partial realities that we've signed on to.
right,
And that's good enough. And I'm not, we don't need more belief systems, right? I don't need to come up with the ultimate belief system now that replaces all the old ones. We
right,
need to have this deeper connection to reality that isn't about beliefs.
right.
Because the beliefs are the distortion field, right? There's no belief system that is the truth. And, we have just been finding our way through this darkness, thinking, oh, here's the lie, here's the truth, this system, do this process, follow this teacher.
Right,
It's always outside of us. It never is coming from our own internal direct connection to Source. And
Right.
that's the only thing that matters. And
right,
apparently that's where the anti-AI force comes from, right?
source. You mean?
From that inner,
Right.
by going back to our source of galactic consciousness and embodying that.
It's the counter to the antimatter
Right,
universe or whatever.
right.
Yeah, okay.
So, that's the way it looks. That's the way it looks to me today.
Right,
It's the best I can say.
right. And then there's Walmart and, getting your high definition plasma screen and simple pleasures of life and, the daily reality on planet Earth. Yeah.
If you're confused about all of that, talk to the Redwoods,
Right,
They do not feel distorted to me in any way whatsoever.
right,
I
right,
trust the information that comes from Gaia. I trust the information that comes from
right.
the Redwoods, and I'm suspicious of all other sources at this point.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, the Redwoods certainly have been calling me
Right,
for years now into
Right.
realization
right,
that they are a guardian council.
mm-hmm.
They're a healing council, and for all things human and galactic.
Exactly. And that's enough. See, human and galactic is enough. What's between human and galactic is all of the spiritual layers.
Right, right,
But they are all disassociated from the material plane.
yeah,
Human beings are not. We bridge the actual physical reality and the galactic.
right.
No disembodied spirit does.
Wow,
And the Redwoods do the same thing, right? They
Right.
bridge actual physical reality and the galactic.
yeah,
So we have more direct access to Source than spiritual beings do.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
But we have been pulled away from those direct connections by spiritual beings.
Wow. That's an interesting concept. Hmm. Yeah.
The core revelation that came to Bonnie and I was, I've talked to you about this principle of two, right? The primal two, God, Goddess, that's sort of the horizontal view of that, and then there's spirit and matter. And that within that dynamic, there are literally two sources. There's the source of our souls or spirits, there's the source of our body in matter.
Hmm.
And that, we've been living in this middle world, disconnected from both, by design, not our design, but that's what this distortion field has done, right?
Right.
It's disconnected us from our bodies and matter. It's disconnected us from the actual source of our spirits. And
Wow.
we've been caught in this web of a false spiritual world that
Wow.
has some truth in it, and experiences, and karma, and you're growing, and now you come back and you're going to grow some more, but you're in this circle, you're in the system, you're in the hamster wheel, and you're never actually being the being that you were designed to be.
Hmm. Wow. We think we'll have a drink now.
Exactly. I'll have another, sir.
I mean, but luckily there's Valentino and Gucci. Despite it all,
That's right.
something to look forward to.
Exactly. Brunch. There's always brunch.
There's always brunch. Hilarious. There's always kitty cats. Where are kitty cats from? Where are kitty cats from?
It's supposed to be from Sirius. But
Oh, they're from somewhere. A kitty cat.
we're here keeping an eye on us.
Yeah, now. Yeah, they're companions. They're helping humanity. Kitty cats when they're not being abused. Right, kitty? Oh, yes. Look at how happy she is. Good. Good. The green eyes of a kitty. It seems to me that there are other trees also that carry anchoring wisdom.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's clearly.
I
not
mean,
just the
pretty much
redwoods.
all over the world. The banyan trees and
Absolutely. Those are the trees we connected to in Florida, the banyans, and that they were like these ginormous
ginormous.
oak trees.
Yeah.
That covered like a whole city block.
Right. Yeah, so it's like the grandmother and grandfather trees of whatever species
Absolutely.
are doing a similar thing now. They have their particular personality and angle or whatever.
Right.
But, because I'm thinking, well, what am I going to do without the redwoods? And it's like, well, find those grandparent trees.
The message that has come through Sandra so many times is every tree is a teacher for humans.
Yeah.
And what's special about the redwoods is their age and their size.
Right.
Right.
They are titans of the world.
They are. But there are big trees everywhere, and there's so many big trees in the British Isles that are revered.
Right.
They are the
Right.
record keepers and the wisdom keepers.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So that's like the tree teachings coming through.
Absolutely.
And then that was, of course, called pagan, right? And the groves were cut down, and but they were the portal to source, is what you're saying. Then they were cut down in large part, disconnecting people. They put in electrical grids, and now these AI grids all over the place, and so we still want to retain the natural world because it is the true bridge to source when you enter this domain. And most of the religions are saying not so.
Exactly.
They're saying it's the opposite. You don't even need to be enmattered. It doesn't matter, right?
Matter doesn't matter. Get back to spirit. Go to heaven.
Right. And those are definitely distortion fields coming into the Christed Master, Blessed Mother, and other Holy Family member field.
Right. Yeah. The things that's in this message from yesterday, they said, the reason we're taking this stand on the earth is because we can tap into her power, right? And this has been the message from the Redwoods. We need their power to stand up to this force. We need that life force. And, they were saying, you couldn't do this on Mars, right? Mars doesn't have that energy, doesn't have the life force.
Because they blew it out.
Right, but it's here on the Earth. So that's why it's so important for us to physically and energetically be tapped into and sourcing from the Gaian energy here, to have the power, to have the strength, to hold the love and the galactic energy. But it's like that galactic consciousness plus the earth life force that creates the strong enough human being to deal with this energy. It's not even an energy, but just deal with that force, the AI force. So, to the degree, again, that the earth biosphere is being weakened, and, the redwoods and the whales and the dolphins are all under attack, that's why it's just, it's just fucking critical. It's getting critical that humanity really has to step into this empowered, life force driven life, and not this spiritually detached life. Not the life of the mind and the life of mantra and the life of being out of the body. People like that are just going to get swept off the planet.
So this is some of the antidote to what's going on in the cosmic disclosure movement. And the other thing is that what's developing is a mistaken idea that AI means machines are going to do jobs. And it's like, no, we're actually talking about an octopus that can come in and infiltrate every single cell of your being and your DNA, control your mind, control your actions, diminish your energy field, and ultimately suck your consciousness into a master computer, and then they're going to shut the door. And I've gotten that thing, and it's just like, all right, it's time for me to talk about this now, because I have mentioned it, but people are like, la da da. Like, they just ignore those emails that I put out, and nobody knows what to do with it. I think that you're providing some of the tools of what to do with it. how to manage it, and
that's they're having me work on a set of just these guided meditations in the grove that help us detox everything we're absorbing from screens, as well as, developing a better capacity to shield our bodies and our minds.
wow.
And to literally tap into the earth at an elemental level, on a kind of alchemical elemental level, to sustain our bodies.
Yeah.
Because food sources are going to get really challenged.
Yeah.
And we need to develop telepathy because our phones aren't going to work at some point.
Yeah.
So there are all of these little kind of evolutionary capacities that we have to now wake up to and activate in our bodies. And this is what the Redwoods are trying to help us do. We have to awaken these dormant capacities within our bodies, even just to survive.
Yeah, like surviving on prana.
Exactly.
I've been thinking about that. Like if we did not have food fears, we wouldn't have money fears.
Exactly.
And if we didn't have money
always
fears,
the bottom line.
Yeah, it's food and money.
And there's a big
'Cause
article
they've
in
been
Rolling
equated.
Stone just this week saying, it's actually the food producing system is just incredibly fragile on the planet right now.
Wow.
And food distribution system is incredibly fragile. And it's not going to take much for all of that to crumble. So we do have to evolve our bodies, raise our vibration so that we can live on those essential elemental energies to sustain ourselves when food isn't available.
Right.
And so they're literally giving me these processes.
Wow.
This came through in the course. Here are the 5 capacities that human beings need to develop in order to evolve and make it through this crucible that we're going through.
Yeah.
And it's like evolve or die. That's been the message for the last 2 years.
Right.
And a lot of people aren't going to evolve.
Right.
But those of us who do are going to become, a new race of beings, literally.
Wow. Oh my God.
What are kitty cats going to do?
What are kitty cats going to do?
Come
They're
on
going to
now.
go out and eat the mice.
Shush, they're going to eat all those pesky mice and everything. Yes, these kitty cats.
So yeah, there's this kind of this has been the dynamic in my course, right? Because on the one hand, Bonnie and I have been given this vision, and I'm connected to this evolved Earth that I know in my bones is true in reality, and that's where we're going to get. But we're going to pass through this really, they call it the Narrows. My guys are calling it the Narrows, right?
The eye
It's
of
like
the
that
needle.
point in the river where everything just gets really compressed and tight,
Yeah.
and the waters get really rough.
Wow.
And that's our challenge, but it's also what is going to evolve us.
Mm-hmm.
So to see that there is an evolutionary path through this, but it's going to require so much more of us than we're used to envisioning.
Mm-hmm.
And here are the tools and the guidance and the trees and the earth who are going to be our guides through this passage.
Okay. Wow.
So, the dilemma is telling that story without just freaking people out to the point where they just turn away and don't listen.
Right.
So there's that
Right.
balance between good news, bad news.
Right.
But it isn't, the good news is you have to evolve, which requires a great deal. It requires a great deal of us to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they just keep saying, you know, we're in the 11th hour. This was Barbara Marx Hubbard's, she has these new programs before she died called the 11th hour.
Oh, wow.
That was what she was just launching when she
Jeez.
left.
Wow.
That was her message. We're in the 11th hour. She said, you personally have to be the tip of the tipping point. You personally have to feel that you are, you know, at the very forefront of the evolutionary energy. And that's what's going to carry you through this crisis.
Yeah. Yeah, wow.